Well, hi everybody. My name is Jim Burns, and right now you're in the Bullyproof Classroom. And we are going to be covering today 10 great strategies that you can use in your classroom right away. As soon as you go back to your classroom, whenever you get in there, you can use it today, you can use it tomorrow. Use any of these strategies, okay, at any point, and you're going to see changes in student behavior almost immediately. And when we're done with that, we're going to cover 4 more strategies that over a period of time, what you're going to discover is that the climate of your classroom is going to change. You're going to have kids that are going to be more respectful. You're going to have kids that are more responsible. The relationships are going to be better, and you're going to have greater cooperation and compliance. Now, these 10 strategies that you're going to get initially, okay, are very basic and very easy to implement. Some of them are just one thing that you have to do. Some of them you have to understand why you're doing it. And some of them require you to understand some of the things that kids do. As an example, kids lie. We want to gain an understanding as to why they lie, so that we can work with them to help them overcome that bad habit that they have. But we're going to cover these 10 strategies, and then we're going to cover 4 more strategies. And you're going to notice as we go through them, there's some of these things you've seen before. Some of them I've taken from others, and I will gladly give credit to the folks that I have taken them from, and I take them because I admire the strategy and I admire them. So let's take a look at some of the things we can do to improve student behavior right away. First strategy, the 2x10. Now what does this mean? Take a kid that you have got a lot of trouble with. Kid that you don't get along with. Kid who you have a poor relationship with. And take this kid and 2 minutes a day for 10 days straight, have a conversation with this kid like you would with your best friend. Just general conversation. Now, let's be clear about a couple of things here, and we're going to move right into strategy 2 just for a second. And strategy 2 says, I like you, but I don't like your behavior. That's a statement that we have to reconsider. Now, when we're utilizing the 2x10, we're not utilizing it with kids that we like and kids that we have a great relationship with. We're utilizing it with kids who we have trouble with, kids that are behavior problems, kids that might just not respect us at all in the classroom. And we have to come to terms with the fact that potentially we might not like this kid. And that statement, I like you, but I don't like your behavior, I think needs to be rethought. Because in reality, you don't like the kid. And it's understandable. Kid's giving you a hard time for so long that it's difficult to like them. But in order to implement this 2x10, we've got to come clean with this and say to ourselves, you know, I really do have a hard time with this kid, and he is rather unlikable. And I have to make an effort now to spend 2 minutes a day for 10 days straight with him. It's like trying to spend 2 minutes a day, 10 days straight with somebody that you don't like. It's like having a 2-minute conversation with an adult in your school building right now who you just can't stand, but you know you have to talk to him every single day. And that can become tough. And kids are very clever and very smart. You could say I like you but don't like your behavior all you want. Kids pick up on our body posture, our eye contact, the way we speak to them, the way we look at them. How we speak their name. Oh, that's Joe again. As opposed to, oh, that's Joe. Kids know this. And we have to be aware that they know it, and we have to take the time to build a relationship with that kid. So don't get trapped into this idea that I like you but don't like your behavior. Here's the 2x10. Every day, 10 days straight, have a conversation with a kid who you have a poor relationship with. And you can bet that that kid is one of the kids that you're saying, I like you, but don't like your behavior too. Those are the kids we have to work with. It's easy to have a conversation with a kid we like. Take the kid that we don't like and try to begin to form a relationship with them. And what will happen as you form that relationship is you will develop greater levels of respect. The kid will respect you far more. And you will then gain an opportunity to speak into the kid's life to help change his behavior. You'll be able to speak to him and help him understand where he's going wrong. And at that point, the kid will listen to you and will heed your advice, heed your words, okay, and do what he can do to try and change. And it's going to be based upon the fact that you built a relationship with him through that 2x10. So that's strategy 1 and 2. Get away from I like you but don't like your behavior, come clean, and the 2x10. Next one. Go from the interrogatory to the imperative. What does this mean? Stop asking questions, start giving commands. Stop asking for kids to do something and tell them to do it. We ask so many questions. Why are you late? Where is your pencil? What's going on? Why aren't you prepared? Would you please sit down? We're going to do math now, okay? Forget the questions. Nobody's getting hurt by you telling someone what to do. No one. And that's something that we have to be aware of. The ground isn't level. So all you're going to be doing is, instead of saying, would you please sit down? You're going to say, be in a seat. Sit down. You could say please. But the point is you want to move from a question to a command. What you're saying to this youngster or this child is this. This is non-optional. We're going to turn to page 5 in the math book now, okay? No, it's not okay. We're going to turn to page 5 in the math book. Open your book. It's non-optional. Just change your language slightly. You'll see changes in behavior. And when I wrote the new 3 R's in education, this became one of the chapters that I included. And there's charts in there that tell you how to change your language. And they work. They work. And it's something that if you haven't picked up a copy, get it. If you'd like a copy of the book, email me. I'll send you a copy. Okay? Go from the interrogatory to the imperative. The next one. Understand your own strengths and weaknesses. This is critical. This is important. And I'm going to share with you why in a minute. But first, we have to understand what our imprint is and why that's important. Now, the social and emotional window to the brain closes around the age of 4 or 5. Meaning, any false conclusions or anything that any ideas that we've learned, or things that we've picked up, fears that we've developed, they all kind of get swamped into our brain, and the window closes, and that becomes the foundation for how we move forward in life. So, if our parents never disciplined us, but all they did was yell at us, or maybe they were worse than that, maybe they had cold anger and they didn't talk to us, we then start to develop the idea that there is power in volume, meaning the volume of someone's voice, or there's power in silence when somebody doesn't talk to you. And these are the things that we start to look at as, I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of someone yelling at me. I'm afraid of someone not talking to me. And you have a lot of people who have those fears, and they become people pleasers because they don't want to end up either being yelled at or not spoken to. And these are only two very basic examples. But the scary part is that we then lose our ability to have a confrontation. If I'm not going to talk to you, I can't settle a disagreement. If I'm going to talk about you to someone else, I can't settle my disagreement with you, can I? Because I'm too afraid to get into a confrontation with you. And I don't leave enough space in my conversations with you for disagreement. So we have to understand our own strengths and weaknesses. Are we good at confrontations? Do we know how to speak to people? Are we afraid of having power struggles with kids? Are we consistent when we discipline? Or are we kind of wishy-washy where we discipline a kid one way and then another kid, because of potentially a parental complaint, we discipline them entirely different? And don't get me wrong, we have administrators like this as well, who are very, very inconsistent in how they handle kids. And you get too inconsistent in how you handle a building, you're going to have a lot of trouble. You get too inconsistent in how you handle a classroom, you're going to have a lot of trouble. So we have to understand what our strengths and what our weaknesses are. And if we can come to terms with that, and we understand that, hey, you know what, I don't have to yell to discipline. My strength is I could ask kids to do things, and I know how to impose consequences well. That's your strength. That's how you handle things. And I think the biggest piece, the biggest thing I want to share with you here is this. Don't try to be someone that you're not. Don't. Be who you are and be true to yourself. But above all, know where your strengths lie and work to try and maintain them and make them stronger. And know where your challenges are and work to try and improve there, so that you can become, overall, not only a good teacher, but a better person in life, a better person with your own kids, a better person with your own family, a better person with your parents, a better person with other staff members. My feeling is, good people can make good teachers, and that's what we're looking at. It's not necessarily, teachers are the greatest people in the world. Good people make good teachers. And that's what we have to look at, where our strengths and weaknesses are, and what we're going to do to try and build up or continue to work on our strengths and try and improve some of the weaknesses that we may have. Okay, next one. Learn how to fog. Go to Linda Albert's book, Cooperative Discipline, and what you're going to find in there is a bunch of, I'm trying to think what chapter it's, I think it's in chapter 7. You're going to find a whole lot of information in there on fogging. Now, I think we have to really gain an understanding here of what fogging is. Fogging is merely making a child believe that their smart alecky remark, their witty statement as they think it is, really to you it's of little or no consequence. This class sucks. You're right, it does. Why do we got to be doing this stuff anyway? You know? Why do we have to be doing anything? Let's get going. This is stupid. Might be stupid to you, it's important to me. Kid tries to get you involved in a power struggle. You're mistaking me for somebody that wants to fight. We don't want to be baited into a power struggle. What we want is we want to diffuse it and move past it so that we can continue to teach. Fogging is a critical strategy to learn. It may take some time for you to develop the language. Start with cooperative discipline. Take a look at it, gain an understanding of what it really is, and start implementing it in your classroom. It's a strategy that once you learn it, and it kind of becomes that sales pitch that the salesman had to read until he got to a point where he could do it naturally, the language will become natural to you. And then you can use that in your classroom. You can use it in life. It's a great technique. Do take a look at the book Cooperative Discipline, and you'll really get a lot out of the technique of learning how to fog. Okay, next one. Balance rules with compassion and understanding. Let's talk for a second here about how we truly discipline. Part of our problem is we talk too much. Now, I don't mean we shouldn't say hello to kids and try to be as nice as we can. But what I am saying is this. When kids act up, there is no reason or excuse for them to misbehave. If there is a reason or an excuse that we're trying to use as a, I guess the word is reason here for why a child did what he did, knocking somebody's books on the floor, he's got a tough upbringing. If you knew the environment he came from, he's on medication, on and on. There is no room for misbehavior. But when kids act up, and they're gonna, we have to make sure that we balance our rules and regulations with compassion and understanding. Because what happens is, a kid acts up, and we start asking a lot of questions. What's wrong today? You're just not yourself. Something wrong at home? Do we need to talk later? And by the time we get through talking, the child believes that that good talking to was the discipline. And what we were trying to do was talk him into the discipline or into the consequence. And when we finally impose the consequence, the kid doesn't even know what he did wrong and starts getting upset because now he's either going to lose recess, get thrown out of school, get sent to the principal's office, or you're making a phone call home to mom. So let's do ourselves a favor. When we have an infraction, when there is an infraction, impose the consequence immediately, then debrief the kid afterward and give him some instructions about what he could have done differently to have avoided the consequence the next time, It's the only way to do it. And if you're discovering in your classroom that some of the rules aren't working, or maybe the rules are too punitive. Kids aren't responding. Kids are still disrespectful, and so on. Then what you have to do is adjust the rules. But the rules come first. The compassion and understanding comes next. Don't show all the compassion up front. Because by the time you get to the rules, the kid's going to believe that the good talking to was the consequence. And you're going to have a hard time dealing with them then, because you've already spoken with them for 20 minutes. How much more talking are you going to, how much more time are you going to spend talking to this kid? Now he's angry. Now there's probably going to be a secondary consequence, because he's probably been disrespectful to you after you impose the consequence. So, what we have to do is balance rules and regulations with compassion and understanding. Next, understand the 3 types of liars. Situational reactive liar lies when it's just as easy to tell the truth. They ask him a question. Whether or not the truth would get him in trouble or not doesn't matter, he'll lie. Where were you? I was next door talking to, Mrs. So-and-so. He wasn't next door talking to Mrs. So-and-so. He was down in the principal's office talking to the principal. Neither one's going to get him in big trouble, but he doesn't tell you the truth. So afraid that the truth will produce a consequence. So if they don't know what the truth is, they'll lie every time. They lie when it's just as easy to tell the truth, because they've gotten in trouble for both, at home and in their life. And like I said, their imprint is one that says to them, I can't tell anybody how I feel, I can't tell anybody the truth, because I'm going to get in trouble. The con. This child will sell ice to an Eskimo. The homework he promised you in September, you'll get in June. He's not to be believed. He's not to be counted on. He can't be relied on. He needs to be taught how to become more responsible. The withholder is a kid that we deal with quite a bit. This kid will withhold information that will incriminate him. In other words, you're going to get 90% of the truth out of this kid, but the 10% that he withholds from you is the 10% that incriminates him. I used to bring kids down to my office, and I'd say to him, what happened? And this kid would look at me, and he would say, well, a book got thrown, somebody else said something, I laughed, and I got thrown out. Well, what he doesn't tell you is that he initiated the whole problem by throwing a book, making a statement, but he doesn't tell you that part. And the information that explains why he was sent to the office was withheld. See? So we have to be aware of these types of liars. By the way, if you send a kid out of the room, and he comes back 10 or 15 minutes later because he was out playing around in the hallway or down in someone else's classroom or whatever the case may be, don't ask him where he was. Discover where he was first, and then question him. And that may take a day or so, but who cares? You're going to have the truth. You can't question a liar without the truth. Learn how to do that as well. Don't question liars unless you have the truth first. With any one of these 3 different types of liars that we have on the screen right now. So, understand the 3 types of liars. And understand the 5 types of listening. Ignoring, pretend listening, selective listening, attentive, and empathic listening. Ignoring we don't mean to do, but our minds are so filled with our own life, so filled with things that we have to do, that we just inadvertently ignore kids when they talk to us. And they don't even know that we're ignoring them. Our mind is on another planet. Pretend listening. This is what we do when we're on the phone with somebody and they want to get off and we don't. Or we want to get off and they don't. And we're there with, yeah, oh man, right. You know what you're trying to do. You're trying to end that conversation. This can happen in person as well. People are talking to you, about this stuff that just does not matter to you. They want to talk to you about their parents, or they want to talk to you about their kids, or they want to talk about their job, or they want to talk about a vacation they went on, and you just want to end this thing, and you're trying to do everything you can to make it look like you don't have enough time to hear the whole story. It's like you're a radio host and you want to hang up on the caller. It's so tough to do, but that's pretend listening. Selective listening we do with a 5-year-old, because if you listen to everything a 5-year-old said, you'd crack up. Attentive listening, you're paying attention with your heart and your mind, with your eyes. You're halfway there. But empathic listening is just that. You have empathy, you have feeling for what the person is telling you. And with kids who are victimized by bullying and they come and they want to talk to you, you have to feel their pain. This is the type of listening that we should strive for. Empathic listening. And when you can listen empathically, you then have learned how to seek first to understand, then to be understood. Try to understand someone else first, then let them understand you, but you got to understand where they're coming from first, and have the empathy and have the ability to really get into the conversation, and it's almost feeling their pain is what you're doing. 5 types of listening: ignoring, pretend, selective, attentive, and empathic. Practice them. Work with them as an activity in your classroom with your kids. See how well kids listen. It will change the way kids talk to each other. It'll change the way you listen. And also, you need to understand that most people listen to respond. And if you're one of those people who just listens to respond, you need to practice empathic listening and work on it, because you're not understanding what people are saying to you. You're more interested in trying to make a connection to what they're saying, to an experience that you had. So, understand the 5 types of listening. Now, the next one. Avoid being negative. Stop spreading rumors and gossip. And this kind of goes back to our imprint. Here's what I want to say about this. If someone gets on your nerves in school or at home, you must confront them in a very positive way to let them know what they've done. Maybe in an inclusion situation, someone has just gotten on your last nerve. 2 or 3 teachers in one classroom is not necessarily the best thing. And you can have a tendency to get on each other's nerves. True? If in fact there is a problem between you and another teacher, put it on the table right away and discuss it. Don't leave that classroom and go down the hall and find somebody that you can share information with about another teacher. And then always qualifying it with, listen, you're the only person I'm telling. Promise you won't tell anybody else. There's something I want to share with you here. Once you hear it or you see it, you own it. Once I tell something to somebody else, they own it, but guess what? They don't want to own it. And it almost starts to create this feeling inside like they want to burst. So before they burst, what do? They tell somebody else what you told them. And before you know it, a rumor starts to spread about another teacher. And by the time, the whole thing gets around the entire school, this person has marital problems, they're on a diet, they're on diet pill. All this stuff just starts to come out, which is untrue. Untrue. But because you didn't confront in a healthy way and work with this person to make them understand that you had gotten upset by what they did or what they said, all this just horrible is starting to spread around the school about another person. So what we have to do is we have to completely avoid spreading rumors and gossip. It's not good. It's not good. We have to avoid being negative. Stop spreading rumors and gossip about other people. And we talk about people all the time in the faculty room. And we do it in very professional terms. Talk about the administration, talk about the superintendent, talk about the board, talk about parents, talk about students, talk about other teachers. And we think that we're doing it in a way that we're trying to be a problem solver. But in reality, folks, all we're doing is creating more trouble. So let's just adopt that whole posture. Unless you got something nice to say, don't say anything. You'll be better off. Trust me. And stay out of conversations where someone is talking about somebody else. It doesn't really work. And it can be hurtful, and before you know it, you'll get sucked in. And you won't know how to get out. Avoid being negative. Stop spreading stuff around the school. If in fact you are, I guarantee you, some of the teachers in your school are. Alright, next one. Take care of yourself. Big one. From Stephen Covey. Your mind, your body, your emotions, your spirit, they're all connected. And what we want to do is we want to take care of each one. And there's a lot of ways that we can do it. So how do you take care of your mind? Well, bottom line is, we spend a whole lot of time watching television, don't we? And we have phones now, and technology is pretty big. So it's difficult for us to really get into that reading mode where we read a little bit each day out of a book that has paper and a cover. I know myself, it's far easier for me to pick up a book than it is to read using a Kindle or a Nook or something along those lines. So how you take care of your mind? You read. How do you take care of your emotions? You find out what's troubling you. Then you take care of it. I know myself that when I have a problem with a family member, it can eat me alive. And I want to get it taken care of as quickly as I can. And that includes my kids. That includes Pat, my significant other. And that always included my mom or my dad. And man, when you have trouble and you go to bed at night and there's a relationship that you once had that is now frayed, it just can keep you awake. So if you have trouble in a relationship that's significant, go take care of it. Don't wait for them to come to you, because they're not going to do it. And sometimes you got to keep going back. I have to keep going back to my daughter. Keep going back and forth to try and get things ironed out it's almost as if every day there's something that goes wrong. But you got to keep accounts current, because if you don't, people will get angry, and they'll stay angry for too long, and before you know it, weeks become months, months become years, and you're going to wonder where the relationship went. Then we have the spiritual dimension. The spiritual dimension is something that's very private to all of us. I know myself, I take great comfort in reading and praying every morning. Read the Bible and pray every morning. Something that you just do consistently. Some people get a tremendous benefit from being in nature, meditating, yoga, you name it. It's something that connects them to a power that's greater than them, that they can call upon when they need help. And that's how I look at it. It's something that's greater than me, bigger than me, that I can call upon when I need help. And just knowing that I have that connection can make my life a whole lot easier. Then we have our body. And our body is one that gets neglected, and then all of a sudden we start paying a lot of attention to it. We start paying attention to it around summertime when we're going to be out on a beach. Or we start paying attention to it when our health is affected because we've eaten wrong or drank too much or smoked or whatever the case may be. But these are 4 dimensions. And believe me, with your body, you don't have to do a lot. Take a walk, do some calisthenics, maybe do some yoga, some stretching, whatever the case may be. But, and I know myself as I've gotten older, I've exercised less and I need to exercise more. And now I'm finding that it can just be some very light stuff that I can do, unless I get myself in much better shape, which is going to take some time. We'll always neglect these things until we find out that we've neglected them too much. We neglected our mind, we started to read. We neglected our emotions, we started to repair relationships. We neglected the spirit, and then we needed help. We neglected our body, and then our health started to go. So understand, you have to take care of these things on a daily basis. Those are the 4 dimensions. And those are things that you have to do to make a difference in your classroom and in your life with other people. You got to remember something. There are people that are counting on you every single day. There are significant others that count on you every day. And you have to realize how much you mean to them, so you need to take care of yourself. And some of these significant others are kids that you have as students. So don't forget about your responsibilities to your own health, your mental attitude, your emotions, and your spirit. Those are yours. And by taking care of yourself, you can take care of others a whole lot better. Okay, now, let's take a look at the 4 bonus strategies. And here they are. Number 1, it's okay to disagree, but with the right attitude. Now, what do we mean by this? I've seen kids that you make a statement to them, they disagree with you, and they give you a look and they go, no. Whenever you're going to disagree with somebody, you don't have to make the person you're disagreeing with look like an idiot. So you just disagree, but with the right attitude. Middle schoolers are big at this. My daughter got real good at it after her and I had a confrontation, and now she can disagree with me so well it almost irks me. So, disagree, but with the right attitude. And then number 3 there, teach kids how to cooperate even when they disagree. Teach cooperation even when there's disagreement. Sometimes we're not asking people to agree with us, only to cooperate. And that's the biggest thing, the biggest problem we have in schools today. Parents don't agree, they don't think they have to cooperate. Kids don't agree, they don't think they have to cooperate. Yes, they do. And if they disagree, they got to do it with the right attitude and work together with administration, the school, the teachers, and everyone else involved to make things run well. But these are all things that should have been taught when they were younger. And I think I've shared with you before, we've got parents right now, often, who haven't matured emotionally. They've matured physically, but haven't matured emotionally. So they're always disagreeing. They always got a rotten attitude. They have to have it their way, and so on. We have to practice these as much as teach them to the kids. Teach playground politics. What does this mean? Stay off the playground and stop interfering with kids when they have a confrontation with each other or when they're having trouble with each other. You, as the adult, get involved when it looks like someone is going to dominate or there's someone getting bullied. Kids have to solve problems on their own. They have to know how to handle difficulty. They have to know how to handle situations. If they don't know how, they need to be taught how to do it. Part of the problem that we have today is there's not enough resiliency with kids, and they have to have the ability to deal with problems that occur. And most of their problems are going to occur on the playground, where you have kids. And you know, the small problem here is they may not occur on the playground. Sometimes they may occur over the phone. They may occur on a computer. Because kids don't even get out on the playground enough. There's a pecking order on that playground. Some kids can run faster. Some kids are a little bit slower. Some kids are more athletic. That's okay. I've seen one school, they've eliminated tag. Can't play tag anymore because there's too many tag-related injuries. And it means exclusion because someone is it. I find that to be almost ridiculous. Kids have to run around, they have to play, they have to understand how to get along with one another, and the place where they learn it is on the playground, or on the ball field, or on the basketball court, or on the tennis court, or somewhere where there's a little bit of competition and they have to work with someone else. Help kids develop greater resiliency. And the last one, make respect and responsibility the cornerstone character qualities in your school. That's what you want. Respect and responsibility. Isn't that what you'd like to have for your students? Wouldn't you like to have that in your school? When you get down to it, there's not a whole lot left. Respect deals with people. Responsibility deals with things or a task. So let's teach kids to be more responsible. Let's teach kids to be more respectful. These are just, you have 10 great strategies that you can use right away, and take these 4 that I just gave you and use them. Use them slowly. Teaching kids how to communicate correctly. Teach them how to deal with the playground correctly. Teach them how to cooperate even though they disagree. These things are not hard. Years ago they called this good teaching. The ground's not level. Somebody's in charge. That's us. And we need to care enough to make kids know what they need to do that's good for them, and how it's going to, and if they don't do what they're supposed to do or what they need to do, how it's going to affect them as they get older. And to me, my friends, that's showing a caring, loving attitude toward a group of people that are moving into another generation that we are going to have to manage, or someone else is going to have to manage. So, my name is Jim Burns. You are in the Bully-Proof Classroom. And we have these video casts going on all the time. You'll find this on the website www.bullyproofclassroom.com. I'm sorry, www.bullyproofclassroom.com. bpcacademy.com. That's the Bullyproof Classroom Academy. This will be there along with a bunch of supporting information that should make your life easier, which is what I'm here to try and do, and hopefully make the future brighter for our kids. Thanks for watching.